Hello, good afternoon to you too, Ma. Before our screen went live. There's my mom. There's my mom.
Nice that she's on first. She wants to be the first.
She wanted to be first, and she was.
Yeah.
Stars for you.
I feel like I'm like trying.
Okay, there's something on your screen, I hope.
On the screen?
There was a shadow.
Oh.
I was like, oh, is that spot on me? I think it's just the angle
The
I'm
angle,
sitting at.
yeah. The camera's over here today.
It's fine.
Right.
Just not going to look very close.
I'm like underneath the camera over here.
We feel crooked today.
Yeah, like
so sorry if we look crooked.
If we're squirmy.
We keep trying to adjust
because we have cameras in our way today. That's my excuse.
It's a little tight today.
It feels really hi. It's my buddy.
Close up.
Wow, it's Tuesday.
It is totally Tuesday.
Yes.
And you got some sewing done this weekend.
I did.
Did it feel good?
It did feel really nice to do some sewing. So that was nice. I finished my blocks for Hello Spring showers.
It's not Hello Spring.
Oh, spring showers.
I was like,
yeah, close.
She caught it, but
I did.
Yep.
But yeah, that was fun. And,
so I finished mine. My top is all done. So I was practicing for today. Mm-hmm. Totally. That's what I was doing.
Yeah, it looks really cute over there.
It's right there.
Yes.
Oops, wrong way. God, I can't figure that out.
Yeah.
So there's, I still can't figure that out.
We'll have to move it.
Yeah. But so the borders are all on there, and I just need to back and bind it, which I'll get there too. But I wanted to get at least that much done. So
yeah.
See, it's cuteness, and oh, is it cute?
It is very cute.
I need to put on my flowers, and I suppose those bumblebees will have to get put on there too. But
it doesn't have to have bumblebees on it.
It'll be here at the stores for a long time, so they might fall off before it gets to my house.
Still doesn't have to have them on there. There's no written rule that says it must be.
As far as bumblebees go, those are kind of cute.
They are.
So
they're not real. So there's that.
No, they're just little balls of fluff.
Yeah, they're just they're woolly balls.
Better and sweaty ones.
That's right.
So
I'm totally gonna take off this camera.
You just might.
I feel like I just don't know where to sit.
I know there's right. Like don't shift. If I shift left, this camera's going over. If you shift right, that camera's going over along with the computer, which would be really bad.
I know, and this is on a drawer.
It's on a drawer, which is a little.
If we end up without crashing today, it might be a miracle.
So
the things that happen back here.
The things that happen behind the scenes around here, y'all just don't know. Don't know.
Yeah.
But we had our second No Place Like Home event this weekend, and we all had a ton of fun. That pillow is just so stinking cute. So thank you to all of you who joined me for that event. It turned out really great, and we had a really nice turnout for both weekends. And check that one. It's now in the history books. So we'll be moving on to the next. I got the instructor kit for red, white, and barbecue. I'm going to say red, white, and bloom. I don't know how many times I'll say that. Maybe I'll say red, white, and bloom barbecue.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
I would say red, white, and boom, because there used to be there was it was like a 4th of July party in Wesleyan, and that's what it was, red, white, and boom. So I'm sure I'll get it wrong too.
Yeah, I've already gotten it wrong once or twice, but I keep bloom because of the
red, white, and bloom
quilt thing, and yeah, so
they just have to make all of their names so close. Like, why can't it be completely different? Why can't it just be 4th of July barbecue? We'd get that right.
Yeah, barbecue weekend,
right? Grill master. Why does it have to be?
We're just kidding. But
when it was
when we say the wrong thing, that's why.
Why.
Candy cane and candy corn right back to back was just like insane, and we couldn't get that one right either. So
no,
maybe it's just us.
Maybe.
Couldn't be just us.
No, it couldn't
You
be.
think?
No.
Who, me?
Right.
Couldn't be.
No, it can't be us.
Then who? What is that children's song? Something about the cookie jar.
Mm-hmm. I don't
Think
know.
of it.
Someone will know.
Who stole the cookie from the cookie jar? Who, me? Couldn't be. Then who? Tell you the things that pop in my head.
Now we can say this video was made for kids.
There you go. So
Borders
are it, and there are borders in everything, it feels like these days.
Mm-hmm.
So it said borders and flange, so in our title of the day, so they're going to be done the exact same way.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you how to do something, and then you're going to be able to do a whole bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And me? Was it you?
Maybe.
I don't have a cookie jar. I don't bother. They don't make it to the cookie jar.
Me either, but
they go right off the cooling rack or the cookie sheet. They don't make it to a cookie jar. My dad got a cookie jar for Christmas this year, full of cookies.
I mean, that's really the only way to get a cookie jar.
But
I remember my mom used to make those Toll House pan cookies. And they would, because they made so many. I remember them being in the cookie jar with a little slice of bread.
With the bread, yeah. I always put bread in, like at Christmas time when we make the big batch of cookies. Mm-hmm. I always put bread in to help them stay moist.
Yes,
that's such a weird word. Longer.
I know.
Who made that a weird word? I want to know, because it wasn't me, and it's really not a weird word, but you're told that it's supposed to be a weird word, so then you start thinking that it's a weird word.
So even if they didn't think it is, then
now they're wondering, right?
Moist for them.
So hello, Miss Sharon, and so we're gonna stitch a little bit today. We're gonna do these live so you guys can see how that all works. And if you spent the last couple of weekends with me, one of the last couple of weekends with me, this will look a little familiar because we're gonna use that same file. So we're gonna jump into it so that we don't run over, because we've been running over a little bit. So we're gonna switch to that side little guy over there. I'm nodding my head the wrong way.
Yay! It's still relatively
so it's kind of there. She hasn't knocked it over yet.
Not yet.
That is obviously the screen of the luminaire that we're sitting in front of. What did you just hit?
I don't know.
That was a weird sound.
It was. I have no idea. Everything is still working. So we're gonna
go with it. That was a weird sound.
Yeah.
So this is the inner border for a 22-inch pillow. So if you've been contemplating doing the Lucky Us, you've got 2 days left to finish that?
Yes. Well, I mean,
for this year, or just have it for the month, or maybe it's a monthly.
Maybe. But I mean, it comes every year, so
it doesn't.
If you miss it, you're just early for next year.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And there is a new one coming out.
April 8th.
Land of Liberty, coming out the beginning of April. So this inner border that we're doing today would be the same steps that you would be doing for either of those. And again, it's the same step that we did in the No Place Like Home. So who stole the cookie? Yeah.
So this particular design comes up so that you can do two essentially right next to each other. We have a large enough hoop so that we'll be able to do 4. So if you have a single design or you have a double design like this and your hoop is wide enough, you will be able to do this. And we talked about this before. The reason that we are going to use our border key is because it's going to automatically sequence the colors so that we don't have to stop. So I'm actually going to do it both ways and then show them the screen so that you can see the difference.
So use the copy feature first and show them, and then go back and then do it the way we want it.
So the design is pulled up on the screen here, and I just need to hit the set button so that we are in our embroidery edit screen. And we know we're in embroidery edit because it says edit up here at the top. It's very difficult. So I'm going to touch the edit button. And we do have a copy and paste. So our copy and paste button is this one right here. So I'm going to select this option here, and it kind of offsets that option for us. So I'm
Just
just
a little
gonna
bit.
slide this over, and then I'm just gonna touch this one and also slide it over so that we have two on the screen. So we did the copy and paste version of this one. So I'm gonna touch the embroidery button here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when I touch the plus and minus button so that you can see the thread sequence a little bit. Over here, you can see that we have the first placement, which is for 2 rectangles. So it's just finding the first set. It's not finding all 4.
Yep. And just so no one's confused, for the No Place Like Home, the file came in with 2 borders already in the hoop. Normally you would be bringing in a single file. So you wouldn't have 2 there already.
Mhm.
Just FYI, in case you're going, how'd you get 4? That's why.
Yes, because there were 2 on
There
here.
were already 2 in the file that we selected.
And
so.
if you just think about that as a single option,
Right.
and then this is the duplicate of that,
Yep.
will make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to touch this button down here, and I'm going to go over here. And so on my screen here, it's telling me that I have essentially 10 different color choices. And as I use the button here, you're going to see the spools are going to bounce up. And so color number 2, and again, I've got my little plus mark, which is really hard to see on the screen over here, but we can tell that it's going through this sequence of designs. And now it's going to the other set. So essentially what we would be doing is we would be completing the left portion, and then we would be doing the right portion. The only way around it at this point would be to jump through our designs using the plus and minus button arrows. If you have a different brand of machine, you would basically be going forward and backwards in your design, hoping that you don't make a mistake.
Hope you get the right color stop. You don't skip a color stop.
Right.
So on and so forth.
Which can happen, especially on a design like this, because there's so many sequences that are
and they
very
look so
similar.
close to the same thing.
Right. It's easy to forget which color was the placement, which one was the tack down.
Right, because the color itself doesn't tell you anything. It's not like
No.
this color is a flower and that color is
Mm-mm.
a stem. These are all rectangles.
Yes.
So there's not an easy distinction
Until we get to the actual
until we
words.
get to the quilting itself. Right.
Yeah, it doesn't mean
It's
anything
not an
at all.
easy, oh, you look at it and you go, oh, well, that's this step, obviously.
Right.
There is no obvious when it comes to borders. So it's not as easy to hop around a design as it is in some other ones.
No. So I'm going to select the OK button, and we're not actually going to stitch it out like this. So I'm going to go back.
We don't wanna.
And we're going to do this again. So I'm going to just hit the return button, and I'm going to hit the delete button, and that's going to delete that second set that I put on there. So now I'm back in my embroidery edit screen, and instead of touching my duplicate button, I'm going to touch this one. So Lisa calls it the 9 square button because there's are 9 squares.
It's actually called the border, but a border function.
It
but
is.
It makes more sense when I'm telling you to find one over the phone. When you call me, you say, hey, where's that button? And I say, it's the one that looks like 9 squares.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can find it.
Yes.
It's so easy.
It is.
So that's why I call it that.
So this gives you some options of where you want to put your stuff. So if I try to go below this, I'm going to get an error message saying that my hoop isn't big enough. So if I try to tap this button, it's going to tell me the pattern extends to the outside of my embroidery frame. Okay, because I can't stretch my 9.5 by 14 inch hoop to be bigger than that.
It won't be 18 inches no matter how hard we
no
try.
No matter how hard I try. So what I want to do is I want to go in this direction. So I'm going to find the boxes that are going in the direction that I want, and I'm going to select that button. And now I've got pluses on the left side, and I've got pluses on the right side. So I can't go to the left because there's not enough space over here, but I can go to the right. So I'm going to hit the plus button on the right here, and it's going to give me a second set. Now I've got some icons down at the bottom here. This one's got 2 arrows that are basically pushing 2 squares out, and these are pushing 2 squares back together. So I actually want to separate this so that they're a little farther away from each other and not so close
in there.
So I'm just going to push that button, and you can see that it kind of brings it out to the outside. Now I've also got this button down here. So if I want to keep everything sort of centered in my hoop, if I tap that button, it will center it back to the hoop in case I've moved it in weird spaces, and it's not gonna, maybe I'm trying to
Stay inside of a hoop
inside
or,
of a particular
right.
hoop. Yes, things like that. So essentially I have duplicated this, but I've been using the border function here. So when I select the OK button and I go to embroidery, the very first thing that you're going to notice on my screen here is that I have, it says user thread 1, and then right underneath it, I have that same color duplicated. Now, my screen is still only showing one of the threads. It's not showing me both of them, but the machine is not going to put a stop in between these two colors. It knows that you're doing two of the same thing because we just used that feature. So what it's going to do is it's going to do the first one, and then it's going to go immediately into the second one. So when I hit my plus or minus button, you're going to see what happens as I move through this design. It's basically going to do the second version of each one.
Going to go from the left to the right,
Mhm.
then back to the left to the right.
And so they look the same, but it's over to the right, and I can see that my little plus arrow has moved. So I know that it's moving to the second set. Now it's going to bounce back over to the left set, and then to the right, and to the left, and to the right. You can kind of see how this is going. Yep. And then again, left and right. So it's going to bounce all the way through. Now, even though I have stops in here, it's not going to stop
because they're the same color. The machine will continue.
That's right. It kind of ignores that. So we're going to go back to the beginning.
0.
And we're at the first stitch, and I'm going to select OK. So we're going to go ahead and stitch the first color, right?
Yep. So go for it. First thing that we need to do is we need to lay batting. So the great thing is one of those buttons. The great thing is it will automatically figure out the batting and remove it from your seam allowance. So you don't have to worry about having that excess when you're sewing the pieces together and have that extra bulk. So this is riveting.
Yes.
Absolutely riveting to watch, I know. I didn't think I was going to take that camera out, but I came close.
It's really hard to see the placement lines on here.
Yellow thread because I'm going on yellow fabric. My bad. You'll see it in a minute.
So this is going to do all 4 of the inner border pieces. Do we have anything to do? Are we going to do a multi-hooped border at all?
These are multi-hoops.
They're all multi-hooped? Okay.
Yep. Because this is a 10-inch and the minimum is 16. The smallest one is 16 and a half. So you'll see what Kimberbell's solution to that is. On the second hooping, they just have you stitch
just off
the edge.
Yeah. So who cares?
Not me.
Right.
So if you depending on how you care, whatnot, your quilting is going to start at one end, of course. So if you wanted less of a gap, you could move your fabric and adjust based on that. But there's no way to get that quilting to balance 100%. You do get different sizes when you buy a quilting pattern. So you'll get probably a 7-inch, a 10-inch, a 12-inch, and a 14-inch design. And so depending upon how large your pattern is, so for instance, if we were selecting off of a regular quote unquote design, we could select a 10-inch and a 7-inch and it would be a lot closer.
Right.
But I'm still going to run over. So there's just no way to completely select from it works out every now and then.
Yes.
But
mathematically wise,
it's not super simple to always get exactly the length that you need because they don't give you one in every inch. So you can't just add and go, okay, I need this one and this one, and here's what I need. It doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So,
So
we are going to lay batting, and I have batting that is wide enough for 2, which is why it looks a little bit different than what you're maybe a little bit used to. If I was doing this with actually putting 4 in, I would probably have one big piece of batting that I covered the entire hoop up with. But these were pre-cut for me, so we're going to go with the pre-cut.
Well, and sometimes the instructions will tell you to pre-cut your pieces to a certain
size.
So just follow the directions.
Absolutely. Yep.
For whatever size you're doing, that's really the best answer to this. Is if you have never done this before, it's better to start off with the pieces being the size that you are supposed to have them, and then follow those directions. Then
you can tweak to your liking as you go, instead of try tweaking first and then go crap.
Right. It can be a little bit more confusing if you put a giant piece of stabilizer in there and then you're not really sure what to do with it. So Lisa and I oftentimes will do things that we find to be super like a shortcut for us, but could
possibly confuse you, just because we're used to doing something in a particular way. It makes perfect sense to us. Right. Doesn't mean it would make perfect sense to you.
And oftentimes the Kimberbell border instructions, like she said, they're singular designs. So you probably will not have a set of instructions, except for if you've done this pillow, that would tell you to cut
to have anything that size.
Right. So this is just a kind of an unusual size piece. As I said, just make sure that you're doing this the size that you need.
Yep. And one thing that I have found in different classes is, if you are placing your batting pieces in, get my cute Band-Aid right now, camera. It is really easy to think you've covered that back thread up and not, because you can't see it from where you're sitting. So always make sure that you have completely overlapped that back stitch, because it's super easy to miss that. If you are not taking your hoop out of the machine and you're just kind of scooching it underneath there. It's super easy to think you've got it back far enough, but you're actually not quite overlapped. It's a very, very easy visual, I guess, mistake, even though it's just really easy to miss that visual cue, because it's far enough back there. And from the angle you're sitting at in front of your hoop, you can't see the thread. So you think that it's, completely covered, and then it stitches and you're like, oh no.
Right. And of course you can certainly put tape in here if you need to put tape in.
I don't.
We're not big tapers.
I will tape when I have to. Yes, it is. So unfortunately, Nancy, no, there is no automatic color sorting on the copy and paste feature, which is why we really like that 9 square.
But yes, the copy and paste does all of the color on the left side and then the right. So it would do like the complete design on the left.
Right. It would completely stitch the first design and then go to the left.
Yes.
Depending upon your machine, there is the possibility that you could hit color sort. And as long as nothing is overlapping, that might still work. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the design, and it depends on the layout. There's not a lot of excess there.
That's all in the middle.
It is. There's a lot in the middle. So because it's tacking it down, it's running around more than one time to make sure that those stitches are holding nice and tight. So takes an extra
minute.
Takes an extra second there.
Yeah. But it's really helpful, because I can't tell you how many times I've cut through the stitches.
Cut through it, because you want to get up there nice, especially here, because this is going to go in your seam allowance if you leave too much. And you don't want to have, you certainly don't want to have a big chunk in your seam allowance. So, you want to get nice and tight in there, but nice to have a little extra coverage when you accidentally snip one.
It is.
So though I can't say that this is a super speedy process, I would say I don't find these to be difficult. A little confusing the first time because you're like, okay, how am I supposed to line what up where? So, which is the whole point of doing this for you guys live today, so you guys can see how that is. We know we have a very big percentage of you that are watching us that do like Kimberbell. So there's borders all over the place. Bench pillows, the new 18 by 18s, which seem to be 22 by 22 now, whole thing with these borders added in the flange. So that flange is basically this exact same thing. It's just the stitches are in the fabrics are going to be a wider and a different choice. So
I think the confusing part about that is that they're calling it a flange. It's really an inner border and an outer border.
And then you add the backing over extending both.
When you layer it, like you were gonna layer quilt and bind, for instance, in this instance you don't bind it, but you layer it and then you are
stitching in
the ditch, right? So you stitch all the way around and you turn it and then you stitch in the ditch between the two borders. That's what creates the flange. That's why I feel like it's like the wrong word.
It's just it's a confusing terminology,
right?
In a lot of instances, absolutely. All right, so I need to remove that batting from around those stitches there. So trim, trim, trim. As you, I don't know if you heard me saying, there's not a lot of excess batting on the sides of these pre-cut battings. So I'm gonna get nice and tight, but you'll notice it likes to rip. So I'm gonna do the best we can here and just, man, maybe I should send these scissors in.
I think so. No, Amazon said our package is 10 stops away. I ordered some watch bands.
Oh.
And Dave ordered parts for the RV to do like an oil change on it.
Oh yeah.
And he also ordered like he likes to cut his own hair with like the shavers.
Yeah, so does Jeff.
So he ordered a new set of those because the one that he had died. So yesterday we took a walk, and when we were walking back in, the postman was driving in, so he got the box. So he opens the box and it's his hair trimmer thing. So he's looking at the box. So he hands me the other thing that's in there and he says, "Oh, here, you might want that." And I look at it and I said, "Well, unless I'm going to wear the oil wrench, this is not exactly what I was hoping it was going to be." He's like, "Well, it was round." I'm like, "You are true. It was round." Oh.
Yeah, our husbands have the same haircut.
Yes, they do.
Mine just has a little bit more facial hair than yours. I try so hard. He's just not willing to cut it.
Sandra says, "Be sure one doesn't confuse block with borders as I did and didn't realize until the instructions were read that I brought the wrong thing. Good news is Kimberbell is giving me a refund. Be careful when choosing." Oh, that's great. You do have to be careful. I did get one of my watch bands though. It's like a little bracelet. It's kind of cute.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's a little.
Is it like loose? Oh, that's cute.
It's like stretchy.
I've seen those.
It's kind of cute. I haven't decided if I like it or not, but my other one was like super duper loose. Yeah. So it was always.
I'm not sure if I like the one that I've got on right now. It stays put, which is good, but that's about
all you can say about it.
That's about all I can say about it. I mean, it matches my watch face, like the color. But,
yeah. You can get lost in the rabbit hole of watch bands. I'm like, oh look, there's scrunchy ones.
Yeah. I bought one of those for Samantha for Christmas. She said she wanted one. I think she likes it. Nice and easy.
Got to pay attention. Like if you wear a scrunchie on your wrist, that you don't put your watch in your hair.
That would be a problem. Your head starts to vibrate.
Right? I wonder if that would help.
I thought these were good scissors. wonder where the good ones are.
Maybe the good ones aren't good anymore.
Maybe that's a possibility.
I mean, we have certainly
These
cut.
aren't bad, but certainly there's
Through.
like a sweet spot.
Yeah,
And if you miss the sweet spot, it's no go.
it's like a righty cutting with lefty scissors.
Maybe.
Just smooshes.
I don't know. I try not to use lefty scissors, so I don't have a lot of experience at that. So like a lefty cutting with righty scissors.
Mm-hmm. Except for when you're a lefty and you use your right hand. My dad bought me lefty Ginger scissors once.
Yeah?
It
How'd
was
that go?
super nice of him to buy them for me, but I don't cut with my left hand. So I had to take them back. He was right, though. I am a left-handed person. I just don't cut lefty.
I've gotten to the point where I can use my rotary cutter with either.
Good job. It really does speed things up, doesn't it?
It does. When you look at it and go, dang it, that's the wrong direction. It doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
You just slap that ruler down and you keep going. All right. So trim. Big old hoop back in the machine. Gonna take one of us out with it.
It's possible.
All right. So at this point, you do need to stitch this. This is not one of those
Skip.
I'm gonna skip it moments. Sometimes I do skip fabric placement lines because I already know where it's gonna go. It's gonna go a 1/4 inch all the way around my fabric, right? Not on borders. Do not skip this. It's very important that you have those lines. You are going to need them.
Oftentimes your fabric is not much bigger.
Correct. Hi, Dad.
Hi, Dad.
Yeah, I was totally wigged out. I'm like, just bought a sewing machine? Wait. I was like, wait a minute. Is there another one? Is that the Jerry?
It is. Got a package coming.
Yep, it's not there anymore. So
Yeah.
Elvis has left the building.
Elvis has left the building.
I have actually been a little cold, even though it's nice outside. I've been a little cold all day until right now.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not because we have spotlights on us.
No.
Can you imagine?
Oh my God.
If we
no.
had those as well, I mean,
we would be in tank tops or
we need
all year round. It would
still
be
feel like
so
we need
sad.
more space. Like we haven't gained much stuff, but it still feels very crowded. A little bit.
I hope they can't.
I'm sure they cannot. I don't think you can hear my headache.
No. The bracelet is very pretty though.
It's kind of cute, isn't it? They had all kinds of different colors inside, and I figured I think I really wanted it to be a little bit more glitzy. It's a little bit like I bought a bunch of $2 beads,
sparkly,
but it's kind of cute.
It's very cute. All right, so now we're gonna get down to the nitty gritty here. All right, now are we gonna do Kimberbell's directions or our directions?
Maybe we should do one of
How
each.
about we say what Kimberbell's gonna do?
Okay, and then we do
what we're gonna do.
That's fair.
Okay, so in Kimberbell's directions, they are now going to tell you to take your Kimberbell tape
and knock off the camera.
and knock the camera right off. So sorry, everybody, if I just made you nauseous. And make a roll. And you're going to do that for both the top and the bottom of your batting strips. And you would set that down at the top and the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that. Am I off? Okay. And when you go to place your fabric, you're going to use that to hold your fabric in place by pushing into that tape. Now, do you see that?
Yeah, it holds it really well.
I don't like the roll personally. So I do tape the top. I know y'all can write this on the calendar. Make sure you were sitting down. If you weren't, sit down real quick. I tape. Okay. But I do not use the roll. And that's why I don't use the rolls, because I feel like it moves and I don't like it to move. That's bad. So what I do is I take my tape and I actually put it right on the fabric right on the stabilizer. So instead of doing that roll thing, I just do that. What your directions are going to tell you to do is go approximately a half an inch up. I don't do that either. Do you? Nope, I don't do that either. I do about a 1/4 inch because that's my seam allowance. So that's what I want to be up there. So I generally will do roughly that 1/4 inch, and it doesn't have to be exact, okay? But so you don't need to get your ruler out or anything. But you're going to take that tape and you're going to tape that in position. And when I say in position, you are going to use that stitch line there to line up the sides of your fabric as you pass. And you're going to line that up all the way down. Now, as I said, it also tells you to put a roll of tape down here. I don't do that. I certainly have instructed people to put tape across the bottom there. When I am doing borders and I'm having to do a bunch of bordering, I don't even tape there. I just hold it in place as it tacks it down. But we'll tape today just so that I don't teach anybody bad habits.
Well, and taping it's not a bad thing. And
It's
if
not.
you aren't comfortable having your hand near your machine, or if your border pieces are significantly longer, they definitely can shift a little bit on you. So you have to use your own discretion on what actually works best for you.
Yep. So you'll find, like I said, we're going to teach you how to do this, and then you can find your own groove.
That's right.
To what works best for you. You don't want to tape
Yourself.
your hair that falls out in there. All right. So once you get that top, you can kind of, maneuver that, and you can very clearly see those stitch lines and make sure that you are balanced. And then tape. And you want your tape to be outside of the batting. You don't want to be on top of the batting. You want to be below the batting and above the batting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And we have a top, a bottom, and 2 sides. So I have a total of 4. So this, and then the second hooping will complete my borders for the pillow. I won't have to do additional hoopings. So by having a hoop large enough to copy that, or use the 9 squares in our case. See, now that one's more narrow than the last one. Can see all of those stitch lines there. If you are going to err on the side of too small or too big, you want to be too big.
Mm-hmm.
When you're trimming, make sure you're paying attention. It's going to tell you to trim to, in this case, 1.5 inches. You do not want them too small, because too small is going to be possibly shrunk in the quilting process, as well as just too small to begin with. All right, so tape both ends, and you are lining that up with that stitch line that we did in the previous step. At this point, we're going to go back to our machine, and this stitch is actually just a basting stitch. And what it's going to do is it's going to tack down the borders, but it's going to do it really close to the edges here. So I usually kind of let it do one side, and then I kind of hold it and make sure that I'm not pushing and getting a poof in the middle. So we're going to let it go down one side. On your screen for this particular pattern, you'll have 4 lines. So it's going all the way down that side. It's going to jump over, and it's going to go back up the other. And then I just generally kind of push to make sure that I'm keeping everything flat. I don't want to have a big bubble, because I don't have any tape in the middle. So I just want to make sure it's going to lie nice and smoothly, so I'm going to get the best stitch possible.
If you're buying kits, it's really hard because you don't have a lot of extra fabric. If you are going to do a lot of borders like this and you are not buying a kit, or if you're the type of person who likes to have a little extra fabric, you could always buy a little extra fabric, which would allow you to have these pieces be a little bit bigger to give you a little bit more wiggle room. But oftentimes, when we do regular quilts and we're putting borders on, because we're not quilting them ahead of time, if we want an 1.5-inch border, you just cut an 1.5-inch border. You don't really think about the fact that you're, when you have some quilting on them, they shrink in a little bit. So,
yep. Which in general, they're already sewn together before that quilting is going to go on.
Right. So when it shrinks,
it's shrinking equally, and the seam has already been done. So
exactly.
It's not an issue for sewing them together later on. Where these, if they shrink, when you go to sew them together, it does definitely cause potential issues.
Absolutely. And your other alternative would be to use some of the other, like if you bought your Leabu tiles, so you could put your top together and quilt your inner borders and your outer borders once you have your top done.
Absolutely.
Using your
so you
Leabu
could have
tile.
them already sewn on.
Yep.
And line up that pattern with those.
So you do have a lot of different options. Like this is a really cute because it's like written words, but you also could take 1.5-inch border pieces. You could put your piece of batting down there and you could do like a little serpentine stitch or something like that. So you don't necessarily have to do it quite this fancy. It's going to finish to be an inch. It's not going to be a huge border piece. So, it's a really nice way of adding something decorative. But
so I have certainly sewn my fair share of this size border and just fused batting, if even pre-quilting, done it by sewing instead of by embroidery. But I have also used the embroidery stitch function and taken the sewing stitches in my embroidery hoop. So maybe it was a super decorative one that maybe I could have screwed up if I didn't allow that to come back and close in. And let the embroidery hoop do it correctly for me. So
are we using the same color?
We are. So we're just going to now let it quilt. So now everything is tacked in place and we're just going to let it quilt. This is only going to take about 4 minutes. And then I'm going to remove all of that stabilizer and we're going to do this all over again. But we're going to attach these pieces to the other hooping. And that's really what you guys are all waiting for. I'm pretty sure. So, and while I am trimming, you can get the batting tacked down and all of that jazz. Because those beginning steps are exactly the same for hooping number 2. Your placement line in your batting and then the placement line for your fabric is exactly the same as what we did for this hooping here. It's after that it gets a little bit different. Yep. So this is super cute. I don't think you guys can really see it. It's just the word home. And then there's a stitched heart and then the word home again. It is it's a really nice simplistic pattern, but it shows up really sharp. And if you are interested in the new pillow that's coming out for your 4th of July type decorations, that one says Land of Liberty. So very similar to this. And I'm guessing there's probably a star or something like that in there. If you get that quilting pattern, that's what that end up. The flange, yes, the outer border design is super cute for that one too. So,
and if you're looking for those designs, they're not available until like April 8th. So we're talking about
I'm just talking about them from the picture,
really early.
So I zoomed in on the picture and went, ooh.
Yeah, they look like they're going to be very, very cute.
However, if you would like to get your fabric kit ready, we do have fabric kits. They are on our website. And again, we're talking about the Land of Liberty pillow, which is a 22 by 22 fabric kit. And the design will become available at the beginning of April. It's only a couple of weeks now. And the fabric kits, we have all of them ready to go. And those are on the website. And they're literally embellishments, the leathers, the everything, all together. So everything that you need is there.
Yeah, and I think at the end of April we'll do like a 22-inch pillow class. We'll just do a real quick live where we talk about the different things that are special about the three choices. There'll be the Halloween version, the
Halloween, Lucky Us,
Lucky
and
Us.
then the 4th of July
yes,
option.
because they're basically all the same. They're just
Same basic layouts, just
yeah, a few things
that
are slightly
holiday theme. I really like the new one. It's super cute. I like them all. Gotta be honest.
I know.
That doesn't sound right. We need to have a little oil in there, I think.
I think maybe
We might have used this machine a little
a
bit.
little bit.
It's letting us know. It's out.
Yeah.
Almost there. And then I gotta get those scissors to work. Those gotta be the ones that were used. Must have just used them too much.
Just takes that one cut and then they're dull, right?
Just the wrong one. Yep.
They're sharp and then they're not.
And then they're not. Lord knows we have enough hairs under the counter. There's no reason for us to be using crap.
True. Let's struggle.
Let's,
We don't have
let's make
anything
it
better
harder
to
than
do.
it needs to be, right? All right. So according to the machine, we finished the embroidery. So we literally pop that right out of the hoop. And I'm going to set that aside.
And I'm gonna slide over there and hoop.
Oh, I was going to do it right
Oh,
here.
can you? Okay.
Yep.
I wasn't sure you had enough space.
I think I can manage.
Oh,
As you bump me,
yeah, the chairs are kissing.
yes, these were not oversized space today. So again, we are in the 9.5 by 14 inch hoop to get the width. Probably could go in slightly smaller.
Okay.
So Miss Sarah is going to keep that moving over there, and she's going to start the and I am just getting these out of this stabilizer. So if your pieces are too small, you can kind of use your stabilizer to make up the difference if you need to for seam allowance purposes when you go to sew them together later. But that is just a little kind of side note, if you will. What I like to do is, I know I got tape everywhere. The most important thing, do not cut your fabric. I can't say that enough. All right. Well, how many times did I say it? And then still somebody cut some fabric. So even accidentally, you don't want to cut fabric. So these are going to be your final pieces. The whole point is that they stay the length that you have them. So we do not want to remove any, whether it be a nip from coming in on the side, or whether it be a, God forbid, you whack it off at the end. Don't do that. All right. So we want to remove the stabilizer from everywhere. But we do not want to get rid of any of that length of fabric. So I am just folding back my stabilizer so I can see really easily, and cutting right at that batting line, but I'm keeping my scissors away from the fabric. Yeah, they were laughing at me at the event because I kept saying, don't cut. I don't know how many times I said it, but they were literally laughing at me. But, you know, that's the way that it goes.
It is.
And then you can either take these to like your, sorry?
All the frames that are on the table over there. That's the ones we pull them from our churches.
From the easy frames that are there for the Pluskies.
Mhm.
Yes. Yep. They're in that heavy plastic bag. Thanks, Paul. So because I don't have a rotary table right next to me, I'm just using my scissors. Being really careful by not doing that cutting motion. I'm not cutting my fabric. All right. Get there about the same time Sarah gets that. She's gonna beat me though.
You heard it? That's how we sound today.
Almost there.
It didn't hit it.
Sounds like it
It didn't. It's going right under. That is not the problem.
No, definitely not.
Goes right under. We got it under control over here.
We are newbies. He's like, I don't know. She got that drink.
It's purple to mask it.
You just never know.
Look at you.
Speedy Gonzalez.
Yeah, you beat me.
I did.
I can't make it go faster.
I got nothing else to show you. I'll move these around. It's like, what's that game that you play on the street with the street hawkers with the nut under the cup?
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. What game do I play on the street with the guys?
You know, find the
Find the nut.
or whatever it is under the cup.
Yeah.
You can never find it. House always wins.
House always wins.
All right, so we now need to trim. She's making me work for it today.
I am. Look at that. Was like nice movie magic though. While you were doing that,
This was happening.
Magically got
Isn't
finished.
it great to have sewing friends that magically bring you things right when you need them?
So Lisa's gonna trim the batting away, and it's tiny again. So that
Yes, I would never cut my batting this tight. I would have at least a half an inch. This is tight.
this is silly, right?
I mean, I can't even pull because it just breaks.
It probably would have just been easier to split that piece of batting in half and then
Maybe.
pushed it out a little bit.
Yeah, maybe. But too late now.
Thanks, Kimberbell.
Got to present you some challenge somewhere.
Right.
I mean, it can't be too easy.
Somehow it's Marie Callender's fault.
Sure.
Did you see all of those posts after Thanksgiving? Somebody like had a Marie Callender pie.
Let's back up. You know, that would entail me being on social media.
All right. So after Thanksgiving or during Thanksgiving, somebody posted on the Marie Callender's Facebook page that somehow it was their fault that they that their pie was burned. And the comments underneath the gal that did it were just roasting her. And, you know, people were like, yes, because, you know, suddenly putting your oven on Satan's fire was the appropriate temperature. And, you know, how long did you roast that for? Like 24 hours? So they totally roasted her. And so like after that, every time like on social media, every time something would go wrong, it would be
Marie
like,
Callender's
thanks,
fault.
Marie Callender. Yeah. And
now
so
I get it. Yep.
they posted this really gracious reply underneath it, which we are so sorry, you know, your pie didn't come out the way you want, you know, send us a direct message and we'll send you a coupon for a free pie or something like that. And so, yeah, they were just roasted. So, like I still am seeing things like on like embroidery groups, somebody's like project didn't come out and she's like, thanks, Marie Callender.
I have seen the thanks Marie Callender.
Yeah.
I never understood why.
That is why,
That
because
makes so much more sense.
yeah, some gal, Valerie Kim something, I don't remember what her name was. But yeah, she totally, and the comments were, I was reading them as we were driving home and to Dave, and I was laughing so hard at the comments about, you know, like I said, you know, because you roasted
Maybe
your
you
apple.
should do this.
Right. You roasted your apple pie and yeah, it was just, you know, hysterical. What did you have your pie on? Inferno? I didn't know I had that option on my oven.
Nope. Oh, there it goes again.
But yeah, if anybody wants a really good laugh, go to the Marie Callender Facebook page. And
I'm sure
Look
there's
for the-
still stuff there.
yeah, look for the Thanksgiving apple pie post. It has to. I'm sure people are still roasting her over it. It was just quite hysterical. But yes, that is what that is all about. Then I saw people like making embroidery designs
Yeah.
afterwards that said, you know, thanks, Marie Callender. Yeah, somehow it was like you ruined my Thanksgiving.
Your frozen pie was too frozen or not frozen enough. Or...
Yeah.
Wow. I'm almost there. Can only cut so fast. Only one spot in the scissor I can cut. So I'm sure everybody that's watching has been on that boat.
Thanks, Marie Callender.
Thanks, Marie Callender.
My scissors are dull
My
because
scissors are dull because I had to cut the box open. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
right. Let's get on the bandwagon.
Okay,
Use
so-
my fabric scissors.
Just because we're doing something new doesn't mean we're doing something new.
Right.
So we still need our placement line. Very, very important. So let's stitch that.
So the first half of everything that we did is exactly the same.
Yep.
We did our placement line for our batting tack down, and our batting trim, and our fabric placement. Those are all the same. You're dying? I'm
Couldn't
sorry.
do it anymore. Hopefully my deodorant's still working from 7 o'clock this morning. 'Cause I'm warm. Fortunately, they can't tell. It's only you that's going to have to suffer if it's not. Whew, that's better. That's a warm jacket.
That's probably why you bought it.
I didn't buy it. I made it like 25 years ago. Long time ago. Very, very. I loved the black fabric. It was black like that when I bought it. I didn't piece the different colors together. I didn't have a serger back then to do that stitch. But I could do it now.
You could.
I could totally make my own fabric now,
You could.
but I did not. Then I bought the fabric and made the jacket. Wow. I need to go walk outside, but I'm not sure that would help. It's actually warm out there.
Yeah, my watch says it's 50.
Is that all?
Yeah.
It said it was supposed to be warmer than that today. Mine says it's 4:31. Sorry. I'm sure I have a temperature there thing somewhere, but
Yeah. Look at we're early on the Luminette.
Yeah.
It doesn't have auto. I touched the screen.
you touched the
I
screen.
didn't even get that close.
Nemo
Jeez
touched the
Louise.
butt. Yeah, touched that screen and it stopped sewing.
So sensitive. Thanks, Marie.
Good thing Marie's not sensitive, huh?
All
right.
She'll give me a free dessert.
So gotta put the complaint online. All right, so here is the nitty gritty on how this actually works. Okay, so we have these stitched pieces. I have 4, and I have 4 that are 2 one length and 2 another length. So you will see that when I actually get them attached. These 2 are a little bit shorter. They're all going to be done the exact same way. We're just going to end a little bit higher up on the batting. So what we need to do is take our quilted, and we want the part that we have already quilted or stitched, I guess, up top. And we're going to fold back the part that is not quilted on that.
You want to make sure these are going in the same direction.
Yep. So the only way that they wouldn't is if we were going on the wrong side of the hoop.
Yes.
So
pay
don't do
attention
that.
to that.
You want everything to be up at the top. If you have a huge amount of batting here that you didn't trim it out, because you want it to butt nicely up against the next one here. But so if you've got a huge, wow, I really trimmed that poorly,
Mhm.
you can fix that here. Okay. So take that off if you've got a large bit there. So we're going to literally butt that right up against.
Give them. There we go.
Sorry.
That's okay. There.
All
That's
right.
better.
We're going to butt that right up against this piece here. And I'm going to fold that back just a little bit so you can see the batting edges a little bit better. See if I can get, is that a little better?
Yep.
All right. And I still want to use these stitch lines for my outside edges.
So before you do that, unfold that just so that they can see what on the camera zoomed in. Okay, so you can see her stitching and you can see that line. So what she did was
This is where my batting stops.
that's where her batting
And
stops.
I'm
So
folding up the unstitched part over the top of my stitched part.
yes.
And I'm going to take, and that's where I am lining the 2 up. That is my placement.
Yep.
All right. So sometimes when you have multi-hooping, you get X's or you get whatever.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you get when you're doing these. You get 1 line of batting here and you get 1 line of batting here. Notice there's no extended seam allowance there. That's why, is because we're going to butt these right up against one another. So that is going to sit there. And I am going to pull this up and over my batting that's going to be stitched this time. If I need to scooch to the right or the left to make sure that my line is within my stitch lines for my fabric, that's fine. I just want to make sure that this line is staying there. I don't want an overlap, because if I pull it too far down, I'm going to have a big bump. All right. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're right up to it, hold it in place, and then pull that up and over
And then tape in place.
and tape everything down. All right. So again, I actually tape. I know it's crazy, because I don't want any of this shifting as I am stitching with the, there they are. I'm like, I got little ones. Where'd the little ones go? So down here, I can I can tape right over the end. And I can do that for 2 reasons. One, that first stitch is just going to go along the side, which is great. I can rip that tape off after it's done that because I don't have to worry about my foot catching, but I do have to worry about my foot catching prior to. So if I have no fabric edge there because I've taped it, that's a good thing. So whether you tape both sides or whether you tape over the whole bottom, doesn't matter, but make sure the edges of your fabric are covered. If you come all the way down, so your piece is long enough that you need a third hooping, you're just going to tape below again, and you're going to do all of these steps all over again to finish off the third hooping.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing. Fold that up and over. Align that at the top. Hold that down, pull them down. Right on top of my alignments. Make sure I'm straight. You can feel with your finger whether you're positioned well or not. So if you feel a bump, pick it back up and look at it. Make sure that you're where you want to be.
And if you're doing any of our border pieces that we create, it's exactly the same thing.
Yep.
We
followed the same basic rules.
Yep. We just are using our designs, but it's the same concept. You just do exactly the same thing. Bump and fold.
Yep. And you can actually even pull a little bit and feel it hitting that batting.
But this is why you're going to cut your batting strips to different piece sizes and not just have one continuous piece of batting and fabric.
Because you will not get any other way to know where to start.
Right.
All right. So if you just had a
this is the easiest way of basically continuously doing long pieces.
Otherwise, it's just a visual, that looks good. And we all know how well those work out, right?
Right.
Cover up these ends. So as you can see, these guys are 2 inches longer because these are going to be my top and bottom instead of the sides of my pillow. So once I've added something to the side, that's 2 inches bigger. One mistake I have made, once you have like super long borders, make sure that they're not folded under in the back. I have actually tacked down as my hoop is moving back and forth. It's really easy to have that happen. So just make sure as you're putting the hoop in that nothing is getting pulled underneath back here. So we're just going to stitch those tack downs on the side.
It's riveting, isn't it?
I know. Sorry, guys. This is the exciting part.
Worked itself right out.
Stuff likes to fray a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, the solid fabrics are
Different.
yeah, they're not printed on the same.
So you guys can
Right
see
now.
how that's stitching all the way at the end, because of course it has no idea that I don't have fabric there. So by having that tape overlapping there, the foot has nothing to catch on. So you don't have to worry about an oops, and having a big snag. Make sure that you, like I said, you don't have to put it over the whole thing, but make sure if you do both sides that you've got the bottom edge of that covered so that there's nothing for the foot to catch on. Because it will.
It definitely will.
We've all been there, right? We've all been there where it's gotten caught, whether it be a zipper, whether it be, we've all had our foot get caught on fabric at some point. So one stinking little piece of tape can keep that from happening. So definitely makes that easier. So I want to not have any tape. I'm just going to pull that back on that fabric edge there. Coming up super easy today. No, there was no sarcasm in that at all. Doesn't have anything to do with fake nails. And
None.
The inability to actually grab hold of
Because you can't feel it.
things.
Doesn't feel the same.
Well, there's no rough edge or thin edge. There's that fat edge of, you know what I mean? They're like thicker than,
I do.
like, and of course it's a basting stitch, so it's not as tight. Just shred the fabric, Lisa. See what I get for trying to hurry?
Mm-hmm. The hurrier you go,
The hurrier you go, she says.
the further behind you get.
All right, so that should be nice and smooth. We're going to assume that because it's tacked down nice and tight there, we're not going to have any foot issues. And it's going to quilt all the way up just like it did before. So if you are in a hurry, once we are finished, we're going to trim that just like we trim before. And then we will also trim at the edge of the fabric. So you just literally get rid of that batting that's excess and cut at the fabric edge. And then sew those into whatever project you're doing.
Yeah, easy peasy.
What was that? Oh, stop it.
He's mean. He is. He's very judgmental over there. I think we should turn the camera on him.
Agreed.
We're being judged by Tony. Yeah, we're over. We know.
We are aware.
It's not like it's going to kick us out.
No.
It's not like when you set up a Zoom meeting for 1 hour and it's done.
Have you gotten kicked out?
I have not personally had one of my classes kicked out, but I've been on a Zoom meeting that ended. It started counting down and then it was just done.
So I have certainly had classes like events and things that ran over. This weekend was a perfect example. And you know, you're only allowed X number of hours, right?
Right.
And those ran all day. So there was only one login for the whole day. And we went over the maximum hour limit. Still didn't kick us out.
Yeah.
So I gotta wonder what did those people do? But then
Right.
again, do we pay for Zoom? We pay for Zoom, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably the difference. We upgraded so that we've got more. We have more privileges
We have more
because we're
privileges.
privileged people.
Yes, we're very privileged.
We're very privileged people.
We pay for Zoom.
We pay for Zoom. We're very privileged.
Jean pays for Zoom.
True statement. He pays for Zoom. Yes, yes.
Yeah, but I was on like a conference call with like important people. Like, I was really surprised.
Are you saying that we're not important?
You know, like vendor-wise important people, like CEOs of the company.
Oh.
And like,
Boom.
they said it was going to be about an hour, and at like 59 minutes, there was a little timer in the bottom of the corner. It came on, and then
I bet you can program that, so like you can't go over.
Yeah, and it just went
boom.
And I was like, well, I hope whatever it is that they were saying wasn't super important, because I didn't get it.
Didn't get any of
Hope
that.
that wasn't on the test. That was really funny. I was like, wow, not even like nothing, just done.
Just that's it.
Yeah.
Howdy.
And
that's a long ways away.
And I was actually thinking, geez, you'd think that they would have, in my mind, I was like, do you think they would have like paid for the more advanced Zoom so that didn't happen?
I was like, wait a minute, have you had that happen?
I guess that's a good way of scheduling your time.
Right? Can't go over. We're gonna.
I'm sorry.
Class is over at 2 o'clock, whether you want it to be or not.
Yeah, don't ask too many questions, otherwise you won't get to the end.
Q&A starts at 2 o'clock. Oh, so sorry.
Yeah.
Class ended at 1:59. So we are coming up on the last of the quilting stitches. So once again, because of the size of these, 2 hoopings is all these particular pieces of fabric needed to complete them. If you have a longer one, so if you're working on a wall hanging or a quilt that is longer than what we have here, so you need an additional hooping, you're going to trim just like I did the first time, hoop another piece of stabilizer and run just like we did, Sarah did the second time, and fill in all of the batting and the pieces, and then you will reattach the pieces, which will be slightly longer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will say, the longer they get, the easier it is for them to get caught under the hoop in the back.
Mm-hmm.
So the more pieces that you are using, the easier it is to get them sewn underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So keep an eye on that.
So instead of like bump and grind dancing, we've got bump and fold.
I'm not really sure where that analogy is coming from. Where
They bumped it up and they folded it. So they have to remember to keep bumping and folding.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure where the bump and grind dancing came from.
Isn't that what most people do when they talk bumping?
Maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know.
No, that's
Didn't
not what
pop
happened.
in my head.
You never went to the clubs?
Well, sure.
Okay.
That was before I think it was called bump and grind. I'm old comparative, I guess.
You're not much older than me.
I got a few years on
We're
you.
pretty close to this.
We are close.
Anyways.
But anyways, that is how you do Kimberbell style border quilting, whether it's the border inner or outer or flange or whatever terminology is used, they are all going to have the same technique in the hoop.
Yes.
And that is how it's done.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Easy peasy.
Easy peasy.
Yes. I'm sure if Tony were here, he would be laughing at that too.
All right.
So thank you for joining us.
Friday morning, we are doing our tips and tricks
Yep.
on spring showers.
On spring showers. So if you have been wondering, well, what am I supposed to do about that? Write it down so you don't forget, because that's always the hardest thing, is remembering.
Mhm.
And you can write in that question on Friday. And we will talk about embellishments. We will talk about squares,
Mhm.
all of that good stuff. We won't be talking about borders because we
not.
just did that. We will
Yes.
refer to this video if somebody asks us about borders come Friday, but we will talk about it. And Sarah has also stitched all of that, but she did it with some other fabrics. So she rated her stash, which you guys have seen what her sewing room looks like. So you know the stash is
There's a little bit
fearsome.
in there.
There's a fearsome stash going on there. So it's beautiful. She's got some really pretty fabrics, and they're just a little bit different. So if that's something that you were wondering about, well, what would it look like if I did this? Maybe that'll answer that question for you.
Yeah.
So we will see you then. Thanks for joining us. See you guys next time.
Bye. Oh, I gotta find the button. Bye.
Bye, guys.